I'm trying to do this, everyone, and recording is not working for me today. So, what I wanted to do is, I am about to record my second installment of the flip through for Less Hustle, More Jesus, and I wanted to show how I use the devotional as a basis to deepen my study. And one of the things that I do, and I showed this before, and now you're getting the after, but I don't know what happened to the footage. It went somewhere. That's just kind of what happens sometimes. Is I will start off like normal, pray. You may want to gather your materials. I don't do that all the time because I don't know what I'm going to do. And then what I do is I read the devotional a few times, usually at least twice. And then what I do is I go through and I mark with a green pen any words that I want to define. And one of the things that I started doing years ago with studying is not purely looking for words that I don't know what they mean, but I look for words that are part of a sentence that actually resonates with me, or that causes, how your heart just kind of attaches to either that sentence or that phrase, or it mirrors something that's going on, and it kind of draws your attention, and it may cause you to highlight it. Or and so any words in there that are words that are pertinent to the meaning of that sentence, I will usually box off or circle. Usually I box it off. Again, I do not just pick words I don't know the meaning to. I pick any words that I feel like are pertinent to the meaning of that sentence. So, for example, in this is day 14, day 14, and some words that I have boxed off are risk, surrender, vulnerable, savor, and wholeheartedly. Now, one of the differences would be that for words that are a part of a scripture, I try my best to use the Strong's number to define those. And like, for example, this particular word is in the NLT version, and when I looked in the NASB as well as the ESV, it was a different, and the King James, it didn't have the word wholeheartedly. But so what I then do is go just to a traditional dictionary, and really it's just to have a good understanding of what that word means. And so then what I do is I will again, I'm gonna hold it up. I box off the words. I look each of the words up, and I will put the definitions in different colors. And what I do is I draw a line from the actual word to the definition. So then what happens is when I go back and I read that sentence again, then I can look at the definition of the word. So I'll give you an example. The sentence here says, this requires some risk, some surrender, and some willingness to be vulnerable in ways we never have before. So here it says, this requires some risk. Risk is the possibility of a loss or injury, or to be exposed to hazard or danger. So here, when it says this may require some risk, and what this is talking about is what is required for us to release ourselves into the comfort and care of God. And that sometimes for us, it requires us to risk some things. And when we are risking it, that means we are opening up ourselves to potential loss or injury. And for us, that can mean anything. Loss or injury could be persecution from those that are around you, from people in your family that may not get it or understand. Why are you trusting in some God that you don't see or who you don't know? Or why are you believing the words in this ancient book? I know that we've heard these things before. So we know that there is going to be some risk in believing what it is that we believe, or some risk in trusting a God that we cannot see, but that our heart knows is true, and who will be the caretakers of our lives for now and forevermore when we believe in him. Going on, there will be some surrender and I have to turn the page sideways. Surrender is to yield to the power and control or possession of another upon compulsion or demand. And I love those words, to the power, control, or possession of another. And here is to God. And so what we have to do when we relinquish our control and we give that over to him, then that means we're giving up all power, all control, all of our personal volition up to his power, his control. And I think that's important when you see that word surrender, because I think sometimes I can feel like I'm surrendering, but really I'm surrendering because I may think it's a sure bet that something is going to happen, right? So I'm truly not giving up full control, right? And so that's why it's really important to understand what these words mean. The final word in that sentence that I looked up was, it said, and some willingness to be vulnerable. Vulnerable is capable of being physically or emotionally wounded. And I thought this one was like, pow, right? Because a lot of times, we may not, I'll speak for myself in this. I may be okay with the fact that there could be some risk, that there could be ridicule, or there could be some unkind words, or there can be some sideways glances, but I may not be okay with that I am called to be vulnerable, that I can be emotionally taxed or emotionally harmed, and yes, physical. I think sometimes that's easier to understand, but being vulnerable enough to let our guards down and to know that, walking this faith walk will require us to let those walls down, to know that we are risking something, to know that we'll have to surrender some things, and to know that we'll have to be vulnerable. And it goes on to then say, in ways that we have never had, that we never have before. It means admitting that we don't have all the answers, and even if we did, that's not how we'll ever come to know him intimately. So to get to know him better, we have got to let our guards down. But when we let our guards down, that means we have to be open to some other things that may make us uncomfortable, that may make us unsure. But there is so many things that we get in return when we allow ourselves to be open and vulnerable in our relationship with God. And so the final sentence was that, but our understanding of Christ will only be illuminated to the degree that we learn to savor his presence and walk in his love. And to savor it is to taste or smell, to really get a true feel, the true essence of what it means to be in his presence and to walk in his love. And really the only way that we can do that is when we set aside self and we pick up our likeness in him, and we pick up his characteristics and who he is in our lives and who he wants to be in our lives. And all of those are on different levels, right? So this is why I look up the definitions. I know what risk means, generally. I know what surrender means. I know what vulnerable means. But when I look at those words and I take them a little deeper, then I plug them back into that sentence, it allows the text to get so much, it gives it more, it allows us to savor it. That's right, to get a taste and a feel. And we get to just really make it very tangible and allow us to kind of chew and digest the words and the context and the meaning behind the words. I hope that this has been helpful to you and that you will take a moment to turn to click and view my flip through, and that this has been helpful. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, put them in the comment section below. And if you ever want me to go in more in depth, then let me know and I can do another video. But I thought this would be helpful because it can be a companion to seeing my flip through. So I will see you all in another video. Take care of you, and I will talk with you all hopefully sooner than later. God bless and goodbye.